Rabbi Zeke Moskowitz, founder of Curio. Thank you for being here today, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the honor to speak before all of you today. My name is Yechezkel Moskowitz, Rabbi for short. I'm the founder of Synergos Holdings, a company that is based out of New York that is developing, commercializing cutting-edge American projects. In line with this vision, Synergos is employing American ingenuity and expertise to build prosperity for future generations. What that means is that we are utilizing a patriotic business capitalism model to pursue opportunities that will be able to provide better outcomes for Americans, but most importantly, we are extremely focused on the most economically depressed communities in the country. One of those regions is the Appalachian Basin. Appalachian poverty is a major problem and is very well documented. But it's been a challenge that goes largely unnoticed by the rest of the country. The Appalachian Regional Commission, the ARC, reports on Appalachian statistics such as poverty, income, and unemployment. According to their poverty reports, the poverty rate of the U.S. is approximately 15.6 compared to 19.7 in the combined Appalachian region. There's no question that this poverty can be attributed to a significant decline in mining jobs across the basin. With the nation transitioning away from fossil fuels, coal burning is being replaced by quote-unquote cleaner alternatives. And recent years have shown a clear and distinct production decrease, with these communities being left behind as a result. In fact, mining jobs in West Virginia alone have been more than halved since 2012, and unfortunately, these jobs are probably never coming back. Slide 2. The loss of these jobs can be felt everywhere across the state. I just traveled across the state last month and saw it with my own eyes. A report from the West Virginia Center for Budget Policy in September 2020 proclaimed that West Virginia had the 6th highest poverty rate in the country. According to that data, 11.8% of the adults reported that their household sometimes or often didn't have enough to eat in the last 7 days. 17% of the adults with children reported that their kids sometimes or often don't eat enough in the last 7 days because they couldn't afford to. 19% of adults who live in rental housing reported that they were being behind on rent, and 6% are behind on their mortgage payments. 29% of the children in West Virginia live in a family that either is not getting enough to eat or behind on housing payments. These statistics are shocking to some, but to us at Synergos Holdings, who are right now developing projects in the Appalachian Basin, we see it day after day, pain and the suffering of these communities being left behind in modern times, but it has strengthened us and given us conviction to continue with our efforts. Slide 3. This inspired us to develop several projects, including Materia USA. I was here in the halls of your beautiful capital last month talking about Materia, our project that is doing rare earth and critical mineral project development, looking at secondary and non-conventional recovery methods to fill supply chain needs, as well as our company Carbon Solutions, which is developing carbon-based products such as carbon pitch, carbon fiber, carbon-based graphite in partnership with Penn State University as a means of providing relief to the Appalachian region. These kind of projects will bring back jobs. Slide 4. Yesterday, I testified before the Pennsylvania House of Environmental Resource and Energy Committee. At the hearing, I spoke about what our project Materia has accomplished in the last year or so in collaboration with local stakeholders in the Northern Appalachian Basin, including but not limited to Penn State University and several other local stakeholders. Not only has Materia completed a feasibility study of our conceptual plant design for the recovery of a wide variety of commodities, including melter-grade alumina, coal-based carbon products, and an assortment of rare earths and critical minerals, we've also added a hydromet circuit which would be able to give us the prospect of producing a rare earth concentrate at a 75% weight. It does not end there. Materia, in partnership with Penn State, is also investing in other reclamation and other opportunities and I've been speaking to local delegates and senators here in West Virginia about those opportunities. Those include reclamation from acid mine drainage, as well as fracking, sludges, and wastewaters. In tandem, as I mentioned, our our carbon solutions project is working on producing those coal-based products. However, as you see on this slide, the actual rare earth market is quite significantly smaller than the nuclear market. And the opportunities that can be presented to West Virginia by accepting nuclear as part of its future transition, in fact, can provide a tremendous amount of value. The green economy would be able, and mineral wealth that is buried under the feet of the communities right here in this state can amount to hundreds of millions, if not tens of billions. But there's no reason why these communities should not be empowered to tap into those prospects. And as I told legislators, God didn't distribute mineral wealth according to the state lines, and neither should legislators. Legislators should work together with neighboring states to bring about that transition in a holistic and collaborative manner. But I myself holistically came to realize that the challenge of a clean green transition does not just require critical minerals. In fact, it requires a tremendous amount of energy. Without a strong baseload of energy, such a transition is impossible. Now, unfortunately, this is not discussed a lot, but renewables are not able to provide that baseload of power that fossil energy was able to provide. And with that transition, nuclear power is the only source of power that will be able to provide that baseload of power to be able to build up to a green and electrified economy. So from my perspective, for any state that has that prospect, investing in rare earth market alone would be short-sighted. To put matters in perspective, as you can see on this slide, the global demand for rare earth minerals for clean energy transition was recently projected by the International Energy Agency at $2.5 billion in 2030 and $3.2 billion by 2040. Meanwhile, the Department of Energy's own National Energy and Technology Lab in Morgantown, West Virginia, states that the present total RE market is approximately $8.5 billion, with the IEA saying that this will increase by 3 to 7-fold by 2040. Having said that, the nuclear energy wholesale market in the United States presently rests approximately $34 billion and a global market of $136 billion. This statistic obviously does not include other adjacent markets such as materials, construction, and fuel, nor does it include the costs associated with the transmission and the retail delivery. With a ramp-up in energy demand, the International Energy Agency estimates that the nuclear energy market can double its capacity by the end of the 2040s, with an estimated market size close to $272 billion, and that assumes nuclear power continues to play a second fiddle to renewables and not becoming the dominant clean energy power source of the future. Naturally, these are big numbers, and it is obvious that states investing in nuclear power and nuclear infrastructure over the course of the next decade will most likely reap great benefits from such a buildup. Next slide, please. But make no mistake, nuclear power does have its own challenges. Namely, it's a dirty word by the men that are sitting behind me, so with all due forgiveness, the big issue of the nuclear waste. And without a long-term solution to this issue, this albatross around the neck of the industry is not going to go away. The inventor of the light water reactor, a dominant reactor design deployed globally today, Dr. Alvin Weinberg said that he would have dealt with the nuclear waste issue first if he had to do it all over again. Thing is, nuclear waste, or more commonly known as spent nuclear fuel, or vice versa, depending who you ask, is a natural result of the fission process. And without a permanent solution for this nuclear waste, it remains the #1 issue for local communities with nuclear power, both in the United States and arguably across the globe. Just ask one of the recipients of the ARDP program, X Energy, who are being challenged by Columbia Riverkeeper, an environmental NGO, who claim that the X Energy project poses a threat to Columbia River. Not surprisingly, their argument revolves around the nuclear waste that the X Energy design will produce. As stated by the program director of Riverkeeper, Adding more nuclear infrastructure, a small modular nuclear reactor, at Hanford without any long-term plan for the nuclear waste would be a non-starter. In fact, the main issue of this hearing, as I understand, is lifting West Virginia's existing moratorium on nuclear reactors. It's in fact a very good idea. But it is a recurrent theme across the country with 12 other states having moratoria in one form or another, and most are tied to the disposal of the nuclear waste. It is no secret that most, if not all of those with us here today, support reevaluating this moratoria. But without solving the nuclear waste issue, it will be very hard to convince most communities and states that have such a moratoria, as the accumulating nuclear waste will continue to remain an issue for the foreseeable future without a permanent solution. With this problem in mind, our company Curio, a nuclear innovation and technology development company, was founded. At Curio, we believe that nuclear technology is not just limited to energy, rather it is about prosperity for all humanity, for our American communities. As such, we have cultivated a holistic vision for nuclear waste recycling, advanced nuclear reactor development that consumes such nuclear waste, and radiomedical isotopes to bring about a paradigm shift in the way people, the common folk, view nuclear and what it can offer to our society. In its relatively short existence, Curio has already put a lot of its resources into the development of novel process for nuclear waste recycling, a proprietary process we call NewCycle. We are pursuing this mission so that the reactors of tomorrow can be developed and prosper without being held back by the legacy waste that communities across the country are dealing with at the present. Slide 7. With that being said, citing such a facility will require a consenting-based partner. In fact, the Department of Energy, just in the last month or so, released a request for information for a consenting-based partner with a state or a community for a different methodology called interim storage. In other words, to just store the waste for some sort of compensation structure. But however, we feel that to mitigate the failures of Yucca Mountain, the project in Nevada, which has failed miserably, we are advocating for a future where the state and its citizens are viewed as partners in the process of and adequately compensated from day one for taking on the risk of not citing an interim storage facility, but citing a nuclear waste recycling facility. As will be discussed by our CEO, Ed McGinnis, who is with us today, aside from the compensation that a state can potentially receive from the federal government for citing such a facility, and please move to slide 8, our NewCycle process promises to produce a new uranium supply stream that can complement already existing and future uranium mining operations in the country. With uranium demand forecasted at a solid 26% or higher for 2030, our NewCycle facility would be able to supply feed material to produce 800 metric tons of uranium at a 3.5 weight and directly produce another 40 metric tons of our own true fuel product. Indeed, any state that agrees to host such a landmark and legacy-making recycling facility will become the de facto nuclear fuel exporter for generations. With some 3,500 high-paying jobs and a downstream economy as a result, the state and community around the recycling facility will no doubt be very prosperous. With the ability to power 21 million American homes annually from the uranium prospects alone, and with the addition of our true fuel supply, totaling closer to 42 million homes, our NewCycle facility offers something that can take a state and launch its economy to the moon. Aside from becoming, and please move to slide 9, aside from becoming a nuclear energy titan, the partnering state would also end up increasing its tax revenues to the benefit of all of its citizens. Such increases in revenue can produce the state with much needed funds to invest in critical infrastructure, social programs, and allow their constituents to keep more of their hard-earned income in their pockets. With higher incomes and more cash in hand, residents of the state will be able to invest in their family's future and have the quality of life that they had during the boom years of coal mining. For a state like West Virginia, this can mean a new era of growth and prosperity. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak before you today.
Thank you. The senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question was regarding waste recycling. Is this proven technology, or is this technology that's in development?
The technology is already proven. Our approach draws on 3 types of recycling that's already being done today at our leading U.S. nuclear engineering lab called Idaho National Lab. In fact, I was the landlord of that lab for 2.5 years, acting assistant secretary, so I'm very familiar with it. But its bottom line is 3 types of processes that we've been doing for many, many years. Oxidation to remove the cladding on the fuel, fluorination to take the uranium through a gas, a fluorination approach that would then go into fuel for current light water reactors and also future, and then a reductive electro winning and electro refining process, all 3 of which are proven. They're being done now at the lab scale, some a little bit more. And the unique aspect for our approach is to take all 3 and combine it into an integrated, modular, and scalable approach, and come up with a private sector approach where our facility is not the size of a small city, but actually a size where it's appropriately proportioned and is focused on, frankly, monetizing to the maximum degree possible products that can come out of the used nuclear fuel and take it from a waste and turning it into valuable products that can benefit the community and the globe, frankly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for enlightening us today. My question's for gentleman from Curio. The recycle, is that for newly created waste, or do you have the capability to go back and bring in the previously expended waste that's stored now and bring that back into the process?
All of the above. That's exactly what we're focused on. The waste or the used nuclear fuel that has already been generated since the 50s has accumulated at those 75 locations in 35 states around the country. Frankly, that would be our priority. And that would be the part of the recycling process that also not only brings, in my humble opinion, an incredible opportunity for leadership in a growing nuclear sector or a growing energy sector to meet climate and other issues in nuclear, but it will also, I think, go incredibly far in giving confidence to the public and the local communities that they do not have to worry about that used nuclear fuel staying there or being stranded. So we think this is the way to go, and we will definitely be focused on the past generated used nuclear fuel, but we will also be able to process the vast majority of the used nuclear fuel, if not all, that would come out of the next generation of reactors.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My other question would be to Mr. McGinnis. In talking about the recycling, just to give us an idea of, and I don't want you to get too far down into it, but when it comes to recycling the spent nuclear fuel, whether it's from the 1950s or it comes from something rather recent, what natural resources are you looking for to use in that process, and how much of those resources are necessary to say, recycle 1 ton of fuel, just to get an idea of what that is?
We can certainly get you some detail. We have our lead nuclear engineering engineer here today, but the bottom line is we use very, very little additional resources for this recycling approach. In fact, we intentionally designed it this way so we minimize any of the additional low-level materials that may come out of it. In most of the countries that are leading nuclear countries and that are recycling, France, Japan, Russia, China, they use a wet aqueous process. And they do use quite a bit of additional natural materials coming in. We use a dry process. and we reduce it after with heat and extraction, refining as well. So really, apart from some types of materials, very minimal, it is simply we are just processing the existing material. The additional resources that would be coming would be for the plant itself. And I would also say that everything that we would need for a new cycle recycling plant can be sourced in the United States. And that is absolutely, the case.
Thank you very much.